Welcome back, everyone, to episode 24 of the Minot Business Podcast presented by Bennett Creative Media. I'm your host, Easton Bennett, and today we are sitting down with the one and only Christine Staley. Christine, good to have you on the show.
Thanks for inviting me, Easton.
I'm excited to have you here. As always, we're going to get right into the questions, dive into the topics at hand. So what do you do for people that don't know? They have no idea what Christine does on a day-to-day basis. What do you do?
Right now, currently, I'm trying to expand my brands.
Okay.
And that's an S.
Yep.
Not necessarily one. And I'm also morphing into a coaching business as well.
Okay.
And I also have something on the back burner where I'm trying to expand my brand, a different one, a new one I'm creating based off of my original one.
Okay.
Nationally.
Okay. So let's start. We'll get into all of that. Let's start from, day one. Christine is going into business. What's the first thing you decide to start?
Well, it didn't really decide to start. It kind of found me.
Okay.
I opened up the newspaper on a Sunday and found a business opportunity. And I never looked at that before. However, prior to me moving to Minot, I lived in Miami.
Yep.
And that's where I'm from. I was writing a business plan for a restaurant, but it had nothing to do with the one that I ended up becoming.
Okay.
So I made a quick phone call and I said to my husband, I'm going to go see this opportunity. I mean, it just kind of fell in my lap. I usually look for jobs, and this is during the height of the oil boom, 2013.
Okay. Yep.
So it wasn't something that sounds really rational because I couldn't find childcare. Everything was expensive. I couldn't even get a job. As weird as that sounds.
Yep.
I applied for a bunch of places, including the Minot Daily News.
There you go.
Never got a call back.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on. So I met with the owner of the business. He was retiring, and he told me, I want you to run it. I said, what? He already knew it was me. I didn't even know. So fast forward 2 months later, I'm opened.
Okay.
That's kind of how it happened.
Really?
Yeah.
So the business at hand, Magic City Hoagies, correct?
That's my business now. But the previous business was a franchise sandwich shop called Blimpie's.
Okay.
By the mall.
Gotcha. Okay. So it was in that little strip mall to the right when you're going towards Target.
Correct.
Okay. So I always wondered about that because I used to go to Blimpie's when I was playing hockey and I would go there before games and stuff. And then did it switch from Blimpie's in that location to Magic City Hoagies?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was the quick thing. So what happened is I basically had a quick, I don't know what you would call it, a quick lesson. He threw me in behind the line. He introduced me as a new owner. I mean, it was crazy, what I had to go through and what I did. And the blur, the 2 months were a blur. But the whole time that I was there, learning and what he was doing, because I was not going to do everything exactly the same. And I told him that. Yeah. But I want to understand what the process was that he did. I was working on the back end behind the scenes with everything to bring things up to speed regarding, vendors and all the business stuff you have to do, the logistics. And then the next thing I know, I closed at a Blimpie's on a Tuesday and opened up Magic City Hoagies on a Wednesday.
Really?
Didn't even change the logo except the front, but no one even noticed it. I had someone walk in one day, earlier that day, and said, he's just looking at his phone. He's like, oh yeah, can I get a Blimpie's Best? And I'm like, oh, hi, welcome to Magic City Hoagies. He looked up and he's like, what?
Where am I at?
He didn't even know. It was almost like this built-in 20-year customer base that I'm forever to this day grateful. Yeah. But there's challenges with that too.
So did people, when it went from Blimpie's to Magic City Hoagies, did people think, what the heck, where's Blimpie's at? Or did they kind of stay because it's Magic City Hoagies?
No. It's again, 20 years. It's kind of like a habit. Yep. Like Pavlov's dog, when you give him something, it's the same idea. People are the same way. And people are so preoccupied in their phone or their business, or they have to go back and they only have so much time. They're not thinking something's changed. Yeah. I didn't do a huge push. This was a silent opening.
It's like, ooh, hey, we're Magic City Hoagies.
Even the people for the past 2 months that I met, they're not listening to the other guy saying, oh, this is new owners. They're not paying attention. They just want their sandwich and go.
Exactly.
So this was really good for me to get my feet wet, listen, understand what was going on. And then at the same time, then I realized what I needed to launch my business as. I kind of got a little bit more background education on that.
So how long have you been doing Magic City Hoagies then? So this started when?
Yep. October 1st is our 8th year in business.
8 years. Okay. Yeah. That's exciting.
And I've only been here 9.
Oh, really? So then you dove right into it. So did you always know that you were business minded? Were you always like, hey, I want to run a business one day? Or when did that click for you? I'm going to be a business owner. Yeah.
It never clicked. It really didn't. I just always loved food. I love people and I love entertaining. That's probably why in my past life I did, a lot of theater, TV stuff. Yeah. And food has always been my passion, but I never wanted to go to chef school. That was never my desire. Yeah. I just like all of those things. And I never said, I'm going to be a business owner. I just gravitated to it. And the universe opened up the opportunity for me.
So then you kind of just went that direction. So now that you have done it, you opened Magic City Hoagies. What were those first steps like when you started it? Was it kind of you just thrown in the fire and you were chicken with your head cut off? Or
I inherited 2 of the previous employees. And so it was only 3 of us to start with. And they had to relearn something different.
Yep.
And again, I had some feedback from the previous owner saying, you might want to try this out first. I don't know if that's going to fly. And I'm like, look, I have to go all in.
Yeah.
If I don't show myself and throw all my cards on the table right now, I'm not going to ever make it.
Yeah.
Because I had to know that I needed to trust what I was doing. And every decision I wanted to feel good about.
Yeah.
Even if it was the length of time I had to talk to a customer and educate them on what I was doing different, which is the biggest uphill battle for the first 1.5 years.
So what did that look like then for the transition? Were there a lot of people asking questions like, what were the questions they were asking? What was that?
Sure.
How did you make that transition?
Well, I think one of my natural abilities is to connect to people. So I always realized that depending on how, like, when someone would come in and I'd introduce myself, hi, welcome to Magic City Hoagies. They're like, what's happening? I said, well, I'm the new owner.
Yep.
The previous owners had to retire and they asked me to take over. And so they wanted to always keep it a sandwich shop. And I got excited. I mean, what can't you do with a sandwich?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's savory, sweet, there's just craziness. And I had to explain it. And they're like, well, what's different? And they get kind of defensive, and I don't blame them. Again, I'm a stranger in a strange land.
Yeah.
I'm not even used to the Minot people and a smaller community. I come from a place of millions of people. So I realized I had to take a step back and say, okay, let me explain to people and give them the time they need to understand and let them taste what I do different.
Yeah.
So I showed them, I said, some of the stuff was already prepackaged. Some of the stuff is sliced. Let me show you what makes me different, including my bread. And that was a big key part, is that they were like, is it going to be soft? Is it going to be this? And they were worried.
Yeah. Well, I suppose they want the same thing, like kind of like how people go to Subway and they have the same exact order they get every time.
Yeah.
If it was to switch on them the day after.
Yeah.
So were people going to Blimpies, they knew what they got every time, and then you had to kind of change
And so
it.
that was a very smart thing that I did. I consciously decided to look at their whole menu. And I didn't know what Blimpies was, by the way. And the funny thing I have to tell you, side note, the business on the side, the Closet Connection.
Yep.
I frequented that place at least 17 times in the first year. Didn't even notice the Blimpies.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even on my radar.
It's blinded.
Yeah. So I had no idea. I knew they were a big company, but I didn't know who they were. So the funny thing is I took their menu and I said, what sells? And I sat down with the previous owner and said, what are the most top sellers? Let me understand. Because I know if I can keep those on my menu and make those important, but then also bring new things, because that's what I was looking to
Start to implement your own stuff.
Yeah, because I wanted to bring things I never tried. Again, I love food and I want to be able to relate new things to new people.
And I assume that you, being from Miami, could bring some of that Miami
flair.
Flair is a good word for it. So bring the stuff that, we necessarily might not have here in Minot and say, okay, let's introduce this to the Minot community.
Correct.
Did you see a lot of that then?
I did. And I think one of the things that I realized is that I needed to create a brand around something. Because remember, I'm not from here.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you a quick little fun thing I tell everybody. I'm from Miami and they call it the Magic City. And I didn't realize that when I moved here, this was called the Magic City. But I like to tell people I came from one Magic City to another. But this is where my dreams came true. Okay. So I said to my husband, I said, I need to create something that's going to be something that's going to make sense and unique here.
Yeah.
Because I'm not just a sub shop.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, why don't I educate myself and also celebrate at the same time what makes this Magic City magic?
Yeah.
So I went and I did research. I took pictures. I found all these different things to put in my shop because I had no focus. So that's why my name is called
interior
Magic.
Design.
Yeah. Like I brought everything. Like we would go to like trade shows or anything. We'd find something unique. Like we have a Lutefisk little poster we'd put up there. It was crazy. Like eat the Lutefisk thing.
Yep.
It looked like the Obama poster back in the day. And I said, hey, that's cool too. So we started literally like bringing it out. So then I started naming my sandwiches around things like the Old Main, which is like either it could be Main Street or like the Old Main building at MSU, the Bakken, which you obviously know what that means the big beaver. Now this one is the funny one. People laugh because they're like, oh my God, I don't want to say it.
Yep.
But it really has to do with MSU beavers.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's like all three meats.
Yeah.
So the reason I say this is because when I started my menu, I had only 29 sandwiches.
Okay.
I ended up at the top of my menu with 60.
Ooh.
And the reason I did that, you were asking about bringing Miami flair. I got to realize if I don't let people try these things, they're never going to know. So I started creating a specials board of the week. Okay. And then I would start asking my customers, what do you want to see? What do you like? And I had people from the military.
We'll get it for you. Yeah.
Everywhere. And the thing is, I didn't realize how worldly a lot of people who were here had that. So they were willing to try stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where a lot of like the Cuban and all these other things that I have that created like a great buzz started through my specials.
So going back into, you said you're trying to bring some flair from the Magic City. You went from opened as Magic City Hoagies. I know you have something to bring up about some logo stuff. Did you start with, how did you go from the logo you have, you started with to the logo you have now?
Okay, so this is the other part is that with the education, and this is about entertaining education and just to really make clear what I was. And I think some people didn't know what a hoagie is because, a sandwich is a sandwich. But if you take like a grinder, a blimpie, they call it. That's why blimpies is blimpies. Things like that, they're in different regions. So I needed to really explain people what it was. So my original logo was just Magic City Hoagies. And then I realized I said, I need to put a sandwich. So I basically made a sandwich. We cartoonized it. And we put it in between the Magic City and hoagie. So it was like an actual. So if I wore a t-shirt, you knew it was a sandwich, not just like, what the hell's a hoagie? Right? So that was a great thing. And also people like seeing food. So that was my second. So I had two different versions. Not until last year, I was already in the idea of refreshing my logo. I want to be a little bit more modern and young. And I wanted to really create what my sandwich looked like. So I have a local artist who I collaborate with. And she took a lot of my, questions, comments, concerns into consideration. And it took a long time to do this, but it worked. It came out really cool. And so we launched this new logo I was going to start in January. But I was like, it's kind of funny. You take something that people recognize and you're worried about changing it. So let me give you an idea. I'll show you a quick picture. So the idea is this was the old logo. It looks very vintage now when you see it, which I love it.
So it's like, okay, so there's a real photo of the sandwich.
Yes, this was actually a real sandwich my husband ate. There's 5 meats in there. I cartoonized it. And then this is my new logo. But see, the cool thing about this is what makes us different. You see this little color on top? That's a meat wrap. That's what we're actually known for. We make a sandwich so unique that if we deliver it, it doesn't fall apart. And if you have it, it doesn't make your bread soggy. This is what makes us unique. But I also wanted to bring some life to it because the city and, we don't have big city buildings downtown.
But that looks like, so I'm going to take a shot of this after the podcast and we'll throw it up on screen to really make sure people see it. But the newer logo looks like, with the time, how the times are right now, you could tell the older one almost feels like, kind of when I was growing up, like vintage. a lot of logos were like that, where the new one is really on brand with where things are going, I think, which is super cool. Which
is weird because I never brought Miami, myself, my personality into it. Until I started developing this logo. I was like, I need to bring a piece of me now. I want to feel like it's me. I'm a big advocate of business in general, but I'm not all about, women owned or this owned. I'm not. But being with my certain tastes and flair, I wanted to bring my vibe of who I am and where I came from. That's what embodied this now. And so I felt very good about it.
Which I love that logo, honestly. Like that's pretty sweet. And I think the artist you're working with did a really good job on that. As far as going into this business, so when you did it, did you take over the business by yourself? Did you have a partner? Were you kind of wearing all the hats in the beginning? I want to talk about business startup as a, either a single owner or if you had a partner.
So like I said in the beginning, I started writing a business plan previous to me moving here. And I kind of just dusted it off the shelf, took about a week, did some research and redid it. And then I went to go shop around about a loan because, I needed to get a loan. Well, I went to the SBA. I went to like a community bank and they're like, well, it's going to take 90 days. And I'm like, I don't have 90 days. So I told the owner and he's like, look, come with me. He walked me into his bank and he tells him at his banker, he's like, this is who I want to buy my business. These are all my numbers. Here's your business plan. Make it happen. And literally in 60 days it happened. And I still have the same banker today.
That's awesome.
And I've used him several times for other business endeavors and he's been phenomenal. And I'm very grateful to have worked with him this long. But the other thing is wearing the many hats. I did have to have at least a seed investment. So I had about a $10,000 investment from my mom who let me borrow some money and get it started. Because when I moved here, I had nothing. Me and my husband, we feel like frontier people. We sold both our cars. We had a little 2-year-old, almost 3-year-old girl. We had nothing. We came here with a hope and a dream. My husband had a job already lined up and it was not oil and it was not military. So this kind of fell in our lap. So we didn't really have a lot of savings. But my mom believed me enough. So that was the part. But then when I started the business, yes, I wore all the hats. And that was interesting because
was it difficult?
I think I'm the kind of person where I'm always thinking that I always had something in my head. Like if I'm making your sandwich, I'm already thinking about something else somewhere else. So I am a multi-mental tasker, but doing, I can't do. I'm not that person.
Okay. So that's one thing that's becoming a reoccurring theme on the show is that a lot of people get either, a little jumpstart from their family, whether it be financially or just someone in their family helping them start things.
Correct.
Why do you think it's important to have that circle, that relationship with people that can help you instead of just going at it alone?
Well, the thing is that you have to, this is what I find. I think businesses need to find the reason why they start first. My reason was to connect to the community. I felt like it was very hard for me to understand the community, and my way in my vehicle was food. And I knew that if I had a reason or I had my why, I know I can make something happen. I even when I went to, I had to like do a whole presentation in front of the Swords Basin Planning Council.
Okay.
And I literally don't even know. I can't tell you I had like a whole resume of why I knew I was going to make it, but I just knew it. I just believed in myself enough. Yeah. But the reason I'm saying that is that some people who start businesses don't believe 100% in themselves. So if you need a family member to help back your dream, you need that support so you can get to that next level, because it can't always be about you. You need to keep filling your own bucket. Yeah. But if someone else is like filling your bucket to give you that energy and to give you that faith and like, yes, I believe in you, keep going. Even when times get tough, if you're wearing all the hats, that's why that's important. Yeah.
Cause that's what I was going to ask you. It's, I know when I started, I had some blind confidence going in thinking I'm the greatest person ever. But then you start to realize, okay, it's difficult and you got to navigate things. But people that are starting business, that's what I was going to ask you, if there was any advice, like how do you navigate feeling afraid or nervous to start a business?
It took me a long time because I knew I always wanted to start a business. I didn't always see myself as a business owner. So when I would read things about business owners or celebrations and successes, and I'm talking years back, talking years back before I moved here, I was like, wow, how do they do that? Who do they have? Who do they know? Like you start feeling like, oh my gosh, how come I don't know those people? How could I do? You start feeling, and I'm not like an uneducated person. I'm just like, I don't know who to ask. Yeah. And they say, go to SCORE, go here, and you're like, and you go there and you're like, do you have this? And you're like, oh no. My gosh. You're like you're in headlights. Yeah. So this is the crazy thing, is that I think that if you are meant to go into business at the moment you're trying it, I think things are going to line up for you in the world to help you at that moment. And when you learn to ask for help, which is not a weakness, and I tell it to everybody, including my 12-year-old daughter, it is most sign of strength, because when people realize you need help and support, they're going to rally around you, and they're going to also look for other people to maybe help you.
And that's something when I went into business, I always thought to myself, I have to do this alone. I don't want to ask for help. That's like, I saw it as a sign of weakness. But once you realize that you can ask people for help, and I know Adam Dice, who's helping out the podcast today, but he really kind of jump-started my video. I asked him a ton of questions. He had been doing it longer than me. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. How do I do this? Just asking people for help. And even business-wise, I have an uncle that runs a business, and just asking him, what do you think here? It's really not a weakness asking.
You have to, because if there are people who have done it before, or people are, that they have something you need in the sense of like their strength, and you don't have that. Yeah. That's important. You have to know who to go to, and go to the right people too. And just keep asking until you get the right answer. Yeah. And that's another thing that, excuse me. I always tell myself, and this is when you were talking about, figuring out if it's going to work, really trusting yourself. I always say, if your back's against the wall, the only option is really to succeed. You're going to figure it out, because if not, then, you can always go back and get another job, but there's always a way to figure things out and make things work. And most of the time, in my experience, it's going to line up. Even if you're nervous or worried, or, you don't think something's going to work out the next day, you'll get an opportunity that's like, oh, wow, everything's fine. So, it's really just taking one step every single day and, going after it. So as far as I asked you that question already, how do you, geez, I don't know if I got something in my throat here or what. So got a ghost.
Yeah. So, no kidding. So Magic City Hoagies, what was the transition like into your next business endeavor?
Okay, so that was actually during the pandemic, but right before the pandemic in 2019, I was going to a business late at night, and I saw that there was a building that was going out of business, and it was my new location now for my other business. But I said, oh my God, and this is funny about this. Let me tell you why I'm talking about the universe a lot. When I first moved here, and I walked downtown for the first time, because we were living downtown at the apartments on Main, across the street from the hospital, emergency in our bedroom window. It was crazy. Yep. I remember seeing this building, and it literally stopped me, and I said, oh my God, that building's beautiful. Like I felt this building. Yeah. And I don't know if it's because I love architecture in Miami. It's called mid-century modern style. And I was like, wow, that's beautiful. I don't know. Like when you have a moment for some reason.
And it just kind of clicks.
It clicks. But then, your life goes on. So when I stopped at the stop sign and I looked across the street and I saw that building, it said going out of business, I called my realtor right away. And I said, what is the monthly rent on that building? I didn't even know what to do. Yeah. I just wanted that building. I don't know why. Yeah. And so I said to myself, I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but if this works, this works. Yeah. So she calls me back the next day and she's like, well, it's actually not for rent. It's for sale. I go, oh, that's even better.
Yeah,
like,
you're like, perfect.
I'm crazy. Like December.
Yeah.
I'm finally like, this is crazy. She's like, well, we'll get you in touch with the owner. We'll do the thing and whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. But it's wintertime. It's Christmas. It's like, oh my God, I have kids. I have too much going on. Yeah. And I just had a baby that year.
Okay.
So it's like, he was like not even 6 months yet. So I couldn't get on my, let's get it straight, shit together. Yep. I couldn't get it together at the end of the year. It's the end, I just couldn't. So January rolls around and I'm like, okay, well, let's start working on this. And we start kind of talking about negotiating it. And then February, and then I finally got like to the point where I told my husband, I'm like, I need to find childcare for my little guy. Yeah. He's been 7 months now. And I'm like, he needs more stimulation. And I knew I needed to get back to work.
Yeah.
So, rolling around and putting all my stuff together, trying to get it together. And she wanted to get it done last year. And I get that, but we couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
So then pandemic hits. And I literally told my realtor, I'm like, look, I said, I can't work on this right now. I have to take care of what's going on at my business. And so I said, I don't want to say I know, but I'm going to be honest. And I told this to her. I said, if this building or if this situation's meant to be, it's going to happen. But I'm not going to sit here and push for something that I can't physically capable of doing. Right? Yeah. Like I believe in that. And you have to, that's the blind faith that I think you have to trust, because if it is meant to be in your world, it's going to show up no matter what. Maybe not when you want it, but it will be there. So she was freaking out and I'm like, she's thinking, whatever. And I'm fine, like, whatever. And I took care of the pandemic. I had to be there. And then next thing I know, I was like, I finally made a quick decision. I said, I can't make this work. I can't just buy the building outright. I said, you know what? I'm done. I said, if she wants to rent me the space for about a year, because I don't know what's going on right now, I'll do that with an option to buy. Fabulous. But right now I couldn't even get my freaking banker in the office, because you know what happened with all the loans.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, there's no way. This is not going to work.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about this, because this is really what happened. And then next day she called, because you're not going to believe what she said. I said, what? I remember sitting in my kitchen. She called me on a Saturday.
She's like, I'm going to give it.
And I'm watching PBS Food, and I'm starting stuff in the morning. And she's like, are you ready to hear what she said? I said, what? She goes, well, she's going to give you 12 months rent and the 13th month to option to buy. You'll be the first to refuse or decline or whatever. And I'm like, what?
Like, let's go.
I was like, that's all I wanted. I felt like that was what I really wanted, but I didn't know how to say it outright, because obviously she wanted to get rid of it. And I don't want to change or gum up the works for her. But you know what? When you really feel what you want and you believe in it and that's what you want, you let it go. You don't hold on to it. It's going to come to you.
Well, a good negotiating tactic where you can just say,
but look at it this way. COVID is really what happened that helped me have the leverage to do that, because at the time you got to take all the things into consideration. It wasn't feasible for me to jump into that.
Yeah. Well,
no one's going to hand me money in a bank like right now anyway. Yeah. Like I don't think anyone would have given anybody money.
Yeah. Before we get into that, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Midco. Is your business moving up and to the right? Put Midco's business technology to work for you, so you never have a slow day at the office. From premium internet and phone plans to custom private networking and advertising, they have a solution for every type of business, large or small. Get paired with an account representative to create your suite of services and make the switch with ease with dedicated business client fulfillment and support teams. No data caps, flexible contracts with month-to-month or long-term options, built-in DDoS protection, and more. Explore services and request a free consultation at midco.com/business today. I'm an avid Midco user. I have their best internet service. I have to transfer a lot of files to the cloud, and honestly, it helps me a ton. So I've never had a problem with Midco. If you're looking to get some internet services or any of the other services listed there, go to midco.com/business, check it out. But thank you, Midco, for sponsoring today's episode. Christine, let's get back into some of the questions. So what was the transition like once you heard that news? Hey, we'll rent you for 12 months, and then 13th month, you have the option. When I tell you, I felt like a ton of bricks hit me. It was insane. I looked at my husband and I said, oh my gosh, what the hell am I doing? Yeah. I'm like, so you're a little nervous. I didn't even know what I was going to put in there. Yeah. To this point, I was like, what? So it was our anniversary in June, and we knew we were going to move forward in early part of June. So I didn't start the lease until July. Okay. So we took a trip, and I know it wasn't the ideal time because of COVID, but COVID wasn't where we went was not really we were in an isolated area. So we ended up staying way, way off the beaten track. Mm-hmm. And I finally, I don't know, I came back after that. So when you went, you didn't have the idea for Magic City Suites yet? Had no clue. Okay. So I come back and I'm freaking out. And I don't know, I'm kind of to the point where it's if you really know who I am, I'm not into sweets. That's not my thing. Give me savory all day long. Yep. And I'll be a happy girl. So I remember going to bed one night, and I have very vivid dreams. I always have dreams, and I always believe in there's signs. And I woke up one night in the middle of the night, 3 a.m,
And I woke up my husband. I said, honey, we're putting an ice cream shop in there. He's like, what? I said, don't worry about it. And I just went to bed. Yeah. Like, I don't even know. Like, I have no idea. Like, it came to me. Like, it just woke me up. Like, and I think that's like the thing is that as a business owner, I've learned over the years, when you wake up and you can't sleep, it's not because you're hungover or whatever. Yeah. But if there's reasons you're waking up in the night, it's because your inner conscious is telling you there's something you need to work on right now. Like you write it down and then go back to bed. But that is how I get a lot of like my understanding of life because that's what tells me the truth. Like, I feel like you can't hide it in the middle of the night. So I wake up and the next day he's like, wait, did you wake me up last night? And I'm like, honey, we're gonna have an ice cream shop.
Yeah, ice cream shop. Don't you remember?
He's like, no way. I said, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And so I started thinking about what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna bring to Minot that Minot doesn't have yet?
Yeah.
Because I think the only things we had right now were like down the street was Pride Dairy at the Putt District in the basement. And not a lot of people knew about that, but I knew.
Okay.
Because we just had
I think I'm just learning about that right now.
Yeah. But see, I've known about that for years because that's where we had our company Christmas party.
Okay.
We rented the whole bottom and they got free ice cream with the pizza and the drinks and stuff. It was fun.
Okay.
But a lot of people don't know. So I knew that was there. And then I think it was like Cold Stone in the mall. They were still in the mall at the time.
Oh yeah, they weren't wearing.
And Dairy Queen, which is drive-through. So I'm like, they don't really have hard scooped ice cream.
Yeah.
So I started doing my research and I started thinking, okay, what am I going to bring? So I found these fabulous cones from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
This woman, her name's Christine too. That's her passion. So these gourmet waffle cones actually have flavor and they're beautiful. They're colors.
I love a good waffle cone.
Like a lavender to like an orange creamsicle to like a gingerbread.
Yeah.
Like who doesn't want that? And their colors like black midnight vanilla.
Really?
Like how cool is that?
Yeah. That's awesome.
You look good with one right now. You're a Gap.
I could probably do that.
So I started thinking that and then I started doing research and I wanted to bring Pride Dairy. That was my original focus. But I said, you know what? I want to really give people a value because this is what I learned in COVID. If you're not getting value and you're not getting people an experience once we do reopen, like as a wow factor, it's going to be hard to bring people back in or even come to a new business.
Yeah.
So I said, I want to be wow. And that's kind of why I ended up going with a company out of Wisconsin called Cedar Crest.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. It's a family owned business, but their ice cream is phenomenal. Like loaded with stuff. So that's what it is. And that's what I ended up doing. So during COVID, I was working on the business for 4 months.
So then did you launch right kind of when the restrictions got lifted a little bit or what did the opening process look like?
Actually, let me back up. In Hoagies, I didn't open until a month later anyway.
Okay.
I didn't feel comfortable because I didn't have all of the, protocols in place where I felt confident enough to say I have all the safety cues for people in my shop now again versus like people just picking up and going is one thing. But when you start having traffic again, you have to start having protocols. So that's actually, I did a post and I said, guys, I'm not ready for the next month, but we'll be open at the end of May.
Yeah.
So there was that. And then I opened October 31st.
Okay.
This one. So it's been a while.
Okay. Gotcha.
But when I tell you the response was phenomenal. And I did a little bit of like a VIP special guest invite, closed doors. I invited a lot of the people in the community first, like more like people who have businesses or people who are business leaders. And I wanted them to try it and get their feel for it and tell me what their feedback was. Yeah. So we did like a little like test run. Oh my gosh, it was fabulous. People couldn't believe like when they walked in, they're like, this place is so cool.
So going back, I want to go back a little bit to obviously Magic City Hoagies was up by the mall.
Yeah.
When you started renting this place, did you move both downtown?
No. So Hoagies has always been at the mall. Hoagies was always going to stay at the mall. And that was my whole intention.
Yeah.
And the building has been for sale since 2016. And believe me, that was a freak out moment for me because I was like, oh my God, I got to leave. But yet I was on month to month for years.
Yeah.
And that was
This
normal.
is the one at the mall.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was normal. So I was so excited to hear the year of COVID in August. By September, I had new owners. I said, wow, cool. I can finally negotiate a lease. Yeah. And I can do what I want to do. Because that's what I've never planned to like not have that place. Yeah. I mean, I just didn't. Mm-hmm. And, but they were like, look, we need to redo the building a little bit. So we're not doing anything yet. Like we need to do some estimates. And I figured that was normal business practices. Yeah. So, I didn't do anything about that until like March this year. I was working with a gentleman called the leasing coach, and he helped me negotiate the lease agreement / business contract for the building at Suites, which is what I did last year. I bought that building. Gotcha. Officially, by the way. Mm-hmm. So that was when that came up for purchase. Awesome. Yes. Congrats. So I actually own a commercial building, which is crazy. But yes, thank you. And it's that building downtown. So when I said, let's go to Hoagies and let's start negotiating this contract, because I've been like, I need to get this set because I don't want to have to worry about this lingering out there. I don't even know what to tell you, but I think a lot of things sometimes fall in your lap when you don't see the signs too, when you're busy with other things, which is what happened to me, honestly. I think the signs were there, but I just didn't want to see them, or I didn't recognize things that like I think would have happened normally, like in a big city, but I guess in a small city, you don't think things like this happen.
Yep.
And so I'm not poo-pooing anybody. I'm not bad-mouthing anybody, but I get to be honest, like the way everything was handled was very non-professional and not okay. But we got handed a 30-day notice, just like everyone else, unfortunately. And it was kind of blindsiding everyone.
Okay.
We all had the intention we were going to be staying there. Yeah, that's what they kept giving us the like, it's okay. Well, yes. And I think that's inappropriate, especially during the time of what we just been through for 2 years, the pandemic. So when I literally, like that was, when I tell you the scariest thing in my life, I thought COVID was bad.
Yeah.
And
you're like, wow, we're getting kicked out.
No, it wasn't even that. Do you know what really the first thing thought in my head was? My employees thinking that they don't have jobs.
Okay.
The second thing was, oh my gosh, all my customers are going to think like I'm insane. Like I just did a little remodel. Yeah. I just spent some money. I invested. I did a little update. So I think to myself, you know, with all of that energy and work, you know, you got to take the good with the bad. Oh, so I got lucky enough that I had this building and I had space in the back. So when I tell you in the 2 weeks, I had to literally have it built out, moved over, and then opened because First District Health Unit had to like sign off on it.
Yeah.
The pressure, I can't even tell you what I felt. Like, I don't know. I don't put that on anybody.
Yeah.
It's bad.
But that's what, you know, if you are the business owner, those are things you have to go through sometimes.
But it's not even like that kind of stuff. Like it was like, I can't even begin to tell you.
Okay.
Like, but the thing is, what I will say is that I don't think God is going to give me something I can't handle because 2 years prior, I built out that area.
Yep.
So the importance of having important people on your speed dial that you can trust.
Yep.
Your team in your corner. And I told them, they all helped me and dropped everything to help me because they knew how important that was.
Which is awesome. Which
is important as a business owner tactic. You have to have every kind of person in your corner. Not all the time, but just someone on your speed dial. So if you can call them, if they can't work with you, they have someone else to send you to.
So for someone that's thinking about, you know, maybe they have a business, tongue twister. The business is successful. That's so many S's. The business is successful and they're looking, okay, let's go into, maybe I want to branch out into this other thing. What would be your advice to those people that are starting something else? Maybe it's in a similar niche like you went into, but what would be your advice to those people?
The first thing is to definitely look at what you currently have and make sure you have your internal team that are prepared so you could step away to do that work. Because being the owner, you never stop working. And that's the one thing I have to tell people. I've been an employee up until I became a business owner. Yeah. There was no difference. Like I was everyone else. However, the hat changes, the mindset changes. So you don't ever turn off your business. And so when people say, oh, you could do whatever you want, you make all this money, you go on vacation. No, it's not like that. Sounds like what it is.
Yeah, I'm working 85 hours a week. Yeah.
But I'm always working. Like I said, I wake up in the middle of the night and I have ideas that pop up, or I say, oh my God, did I pay that invoice? Or did I do this? Oh, you know, and then everyone keeps coming to you for things. You know, it's a seasonal thing. So then, you know, you have different things, like just different things come up. So the reason I say all that is because if the people who you surround yourself in your first business don't believe in you as a leader and they don't step up and do the work, if you step that way, you have to think about it this way first. If you could step away from your business for a month and not have to worry about it running itself, then you can consider maybe branching off. If you cannot even do that as a test, then don't even try to do a second business, period.
So you want to get to a point where the business is self-sustaining enough. I'm struggling with my S's today. Self-sustaining enough to operate on its own before you go into this other venture.
And I'm not talking about money-wise. I'm talking about all the moving parts to keep your business successfully consistent with all of the areas that need to be happening. Okay. So you can keep going, because basically you're like a silent owner then. If you can put yourself as that background person, not that you want to be that, but if you can step away that way first, and you can do it successfully at different parts of the year, I would test that out first before you decide to go to a second venture. Because this is what will happen if you don't. You're going to spread yourself so thin, and especially if it's in an area you're not familiar with.
Your hair's going to fall out?
No, you're not going to be able to come back to your other business and take care of it because you won't be there to show up for it. Yeah. Because you're already stressed over here. You know what I mean? You tap out.
So they're both going to
They're both going to fail then. So it's almost like building a foundation. Make sure your foundation, your first one, is really good, well-oiled. And yes, and the problem is businesses are problem solvers. That's what you have to be. Yep. So make sure you get those solutions, or you have a plan B, plan C if something does happen when you're not there.
Yeah. So why do you think it's important to create a good experience in the food and beverage industry when people walk in the door?
I like to,
whether it be,
I know what you mean. I like to call it this way. I feel like I'm a food diplomat.
Okay.
Or ambassador. I feel like I can be dropped in any country in the world. And the only thing that will connect us is either love, death, and food.
There it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's people who don't have children. There's people who've never been to school. There's people who, just don't know what hygiene is. But those are things that are important. Those three elements in life. So if you can understand that it's a basic need, but then you could take that basic need and make it fun and elevate it and get them excited to like want to desire something that's just a basic need. Because there's people I talk to every day, they just want basic chicken and spinach on a wrap and that's it. And they don't care if it's hot, spicy. They're like, it's sustenance. I keep trying to, for me, getting that guy to try something new is so hard, but that's so exciting to me because I get to challenge myself and see if they'll even like change it a little bit. So to me, if I can do something like that to keep working on that person, that person might surprise himself because they might be like, wow, okay, maybe that is better than just eating to go and for fuel. You know, there's people who think that way, or there's people who like love food. They adore it and they have to like it's everything. It's like a luxury.
It's almost,
So you got to take both of those sides and say, how do I meld the whole thing where you can affect as many people as possible, but without overdoing it where you feel like you're being fake. I'm always about being authentic.
Yeah.
So passion leads my purposes, and my purpose is to make you happy and sustain you with food. But also I want to show you how exciting it can be. But at the same time, you have to know how to read your customers too and pull back if they're not the kind of person who's interested in that.
Yeah.
So I think that's now where we're at, especially post-COVID. People, since prices are going up, people don't want to just go out and buy food. No. They just don't. They'd rather stay home. Even if they don't know how to cook it, they'll microwave everything.
Well, that's why DoorDash and Grubhub and all
There's
these other
that,
places. Yeah.
But I'm talking people will even go to Walmart and buy cheap food. Like they'll stock their house for $100 for the month. And yet they don't even care if it's good or bad, but they know they're not spending money. But if they're going to spend money, it's not just for a special occasion anymore. They want to know the reason why they're going to save that money to spend it with you, not with them.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and people I feel like are more cautious with their dollars, whether
now they're being very aware of their budgets.
Yes.
And I think that's smart. I think it's a good lesson. Unfortunately, we were forced into this situation, but now it pulls people back and says, what's important now?
Which is good. And businesses have to pivot too. The people are tighter with their money. They can't just throw it at you. So how are you going to make sure that they're spending it with you instead of, Sue over there across the street?
Correct.
So you talked about brands, plural, in the beginning of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you looking to move now?
Okay.
Like what's
so where's
in the future, vision?
my big vision? Okay.
Yes. Or what are some new things you've been working on, that kind of stuff?
Okay. So a couple years ago, it was actually 2021, I went into a 7-month-long SBA program. It was called Emerge Leaders. It was a very nice program. I was very grateful to be able to be accepted. There's only 20 participants for this whole state.
Okay.
And they make you look at your next 3-year plan. That's what the basic gist of it is. Mm-hmm. What we got to connect with business owners all across North Dakota. It was all virtual, really weird. I got into that realm. So I understand the online learning now, which is cool. I did a great job with that. And it was a really good way for me to put down in a concrete form, because I haven't had thought about that, because you got to think about it this way. I'm not a 5-year business anymore. Yeah. You have different steps in your business. Your first 2 years, you're trying to just stay afloat.
Stay alive. Yep.
And then the next few years, if you're still relevant or around, oh my God, I hit that 5-year mark. But now am I really small anymore? Yeah. And then you have to keep going. What's my future? And I never really gave thought to that at the time. With all the times I go to food shows and I go to conferences and I do things because you always have to be in the game.
Yep.
I never really thought about it until last year, because last year was an amazing year for me. Besides being in that class that made me write that out, and I had to, drill down on some of the things I wanted to work on. Mm-hmm. I was part of a pitch contest, a global pitch contest it was called the Fast Casual Executive Summit. 5-minute pitch or something. Okay. Why is your brand the next upcoming? I got second, just to let you know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
But that was a really big step into me reassessing the class.
Yep.
The final plan, because that was in October that happened. My class was over in November.
Okay.
I'll be honest, I look at my plan now and there's some things I wanted to do that can't be done.
Yep.
Because of things that happened to me this year.
Okay.
But see, this is the thing about pivoting. You have to always kind of reassess, where's your business make the most sense and where do you want to go in the next 5 years? So some of the things I worked on, this isn't exactly the main thing, but I'm going to show you something.
Okay.
That this season, we have...
Look at this.
The new hot sauces.
Look at this, people.
This one's super hot, by the way.
Oof.
I've let some people test that. They didn't believe me how hot that was.
Well, yeah, I was talking to Adam before we started recording, and it's Ooh, yeah. I mean, I was just telling Adam actually before we started recording that I have one of my clients, Big Deck Barbecue in Fargo, makes hot sauce, and I tried it and I was like, tears were coming out of my eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah, hot sauce. I mean, I put hot sauce on literally everything.
I do
so
too.
This is exciting.
Yeah. So this is my second idea. The first idea was my sauces I've been creating at my shop for years already. Which if you've been there and you got the Beast or you get the horseradish mayo or you get your garlic aioli, those are the ones I was working on with the class.
Yep.
However, unfortunately, the problem is that because stuff was so backed up since COVID, the person who I had to help me produce it, and I want to be authentic as possible, we had to put in the back burner until next year.
Yep.
So this is what I decided to do first. So this is my first launching into a actual product that you can take home, ship.
So is this is the first retail?
This is the first time I'm dropping it right now, man. This is the first time it's hit.
Look at that. Well, and hey, if you guys are listening on Spotify or Apple, you can watch it on Spotify, but go actually watch the video. We got shots of the actual hot sauce up here. Yeah. What even flavors we got here?
So,
Cajun?
We have Cajun,
Cayenne,
habanero, and then this is extreme. This one is so freaking hot. If you look, the one thing I love about this, there's flames coming off the buildings.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that one's that's like, if you like the ghost pepper guys at my shop, that's the one you're gonna want to hook up with.
Oof. I have a buddy that every time we go like to Buffalo Wild Wings and he gets wings, he gets like the hottest.
Yep, me too.
And he's just sitting there eating them fine.
I've been in a chicken wing contest at the fair, and I'm going to tell you,
I touch my finger on it, put it on my tongue, and I'm like, I'd run into the bathroom after that.
I feel you. A lot of people are like that. But so let me finish what I was going to say. So there's this, and then the other thing that I did, besides the sweet shop, which is still there, we're going to probably do some delivery this fall, winter. So, people do eat ice cream in the winter. Yep. I found out. I think that's just strange, I guess, in my mind, but it's normal, especially if you're cozy in your house. You want ice cream.
Sit by a fire.
There you go. That's a beautiful visual. But the other thing I started gravitating towards is that throughout the years, I didn't realize how many people in this business community looked up to me. I don't know. I'm not trying to like pat myself on the shoulder here, but people reach out to me all the time, new businesses, other people, or I just go to try their stuff and I'm excited and I'm like, oh my gosh. And they reach out to me.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of like a natural kind of pull for me to do this, but I started putting together a kind of coaching business.
Okay.
Right now, currently, I'm not offering it in North Dakota. And the reason is because I can't handle people that I already have that I'm working with locally. Yeah. But I want to do it virtual. It utilizes my time better. Yeah. And I think they can get more out of it because it's a different type of dynamic. They're not in person. Yeah. And I really liked that format, especially when I took that class last year. I thought it was really successful because you can share a lot and get a lot done. And 100%. You don't need to be in front of the person, which I always thought, how do you not learn? Yeah. If you're in front, I went to the old school, went to college like that, and you have to be in class.
Yeah. And now everything's so digital. Like Correct. You learn, I've taken multiple courses and classes as far as the filmmaking side of things go. And you can learn so much just through the virtual content they're putting out there. But and even if I've never met these people.
But the thing is that even like, and I studied stuff like this before I did this. I just still couldn't understand unless you're touching it and doing it, you know? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people learn differently, but I actually did well with that. Yeah. As long as you're motivated. And that's the big part.
Well, so you have to be.
There's that. So that's a business I call Restaurant Success by Design. And the basis for this is I'm not going to tell you all your, like, let me give you all these checklists and everything. There's part of that I can help you with, but there's other people who do that better than me. Mm-hmm. I kind of work from the heart center and I try to say, how do you create something that you believe in and make it widely successful? Yeah. So at the end of the day, you go to bed and you're happy with everything you're doing. And then the money comes. It's not like throw all the money here and then make, ROI. All right. It's no. I do it differently. And I think that for me, if I can bring people back to their center and understand the why, and they start doing things not at a scared mentality or at a loving, community-based, helpful, there's a different way to work on your business, especially now, especially restaurants.
And I think business, you need to be more emotionally invested in, instead of being so transactional, like looking at the numbers, you obviously need to pay attention to your numbers. But if you're doing things that pull on the heartstrings a little bit here and there, just doing good things for the community, doing good things for your customers because you care about them instead of, okay, that person is $13. This person that walks in, okay, they're $9. You know what I mean? So if you are looking at it from more of I'm trying to think of the word. I can't even think of the word, but, just more of the emotional base instead of the
But then think of it this way too, Easton, is that because we've all got pushed onto online for everything, there has been no interaction.
Yeah.
And so you have to make it genuine and you have to make it connection oriented. Oh, yeah. So if you are going to try to bring people back down into your shop or bring them out off online and, you know, find just the best price only, but they want the experience, you have to make sure that you're driving people for that.
Yeah.
And that is what the takeaway is, because if your product's consistently good, that's not the problem. It's everything else that you need to work on now.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I don't think a lot of business owners think. They think, oh, if I have this beautiful like makeover and I have pizza and I have beer, everybody would come.
Yeah.
Hell no. Yeah. People aren't coming to that. What makes you different?
There has to be a brand behind it.
A brand, but also what makes you different, how do you make them feel good?
Yeah.
Because to me, I want to go somewhere that's going to make me feel good. Because at the end of the day, there's only so many things that can make you feel good now.
Yeah. Because there's a couple businesses I've went to that I don't have a great experience. And I'm like, I don't know if I'd really go back there. Yeah, the product was fine. I like the product, but it's like, you have to feel a certain way to want to go back. Yeah, exactly.
And you have to kind of be Disney. You kind of have to be Apple. And you kind of have to be McDonald's all wrapped in one. And the reason I say all those 3 brands is because those 3 brands got it right.
Oh, yeah.
They have loyal, faithful followers. And if you can do that into your own business, figure out what those parts of that recipe are, you are going to be golden. That
is fantastic advice. I'm going to ask you now, Mount Rushmore business advice, top 4 pieces. You give 4 pieces and then we should, one more question after that and then we're good to go.
Yeah.
So what is your Mount Rushmore of advice? 4 pieces.
I think you need to know who you are first before you go into business. And I'm going to say that because there are going to be experiences and situations that occur that you probably will never even imagine that could happen. And if you don't know how you're going to take it or react, and it doesn't go the way you expect, because things don't go the way you expected ever. But if you really assume that, oh, it's going to be this way or it should be this way or whatever, and you're kind of not really, you're kind of like tunnel visioned of like not being open to what could potentially happen and grow from that experience, then that's going to be a hard thing. So know who you are and keep working on yourself every day because it's a journey.
Yeah.
You need to know who you are. You're not the same. I'm not the same person as when I started Hoagies. Yeah. I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago, let alone now.
But you got to grow with it.
Yeah. So you have to grow with what's happening. I think the second part is ask for help. Help is the biggest thing I always say to people is that you need to know how to ask for help, who to ask for help, and then be aware of who's trying to help you.
Yeah.
And don't think they're just trying to get something from you, but know if they are. Okay. So
some people will.
Well, some people will. But there's some people who believe in your brand and believe in you, and you just blow them away and you don't even know, and they won't tell you this.
Yeah.
But those are the people who are your biggest like supporters and fans. And so if you do need help, like when I had to relocate, I would call these people and they actually showed up for me and I was very grateful.
Yeah.
And give thank you, gratitude, definitely gratitude with the help. I think the third thing is reassess your business every couple years. And I mean, I'm talking 2, not 3. Okay. But every 2 years, look at your menu.
Like a full, full reassess.
Like, yeah, look at it. Look at it. Look at your numbers from 2 years ago and say, okay, and then look at what offerings you have from 2 years ago and now. What's selling? What's not selling?
Yeah.
Because this is the thing. If you're an independent small business like I am, you have to keep bringing something fresh to the table. And we're not a big franchise like most companies where they got marketing budgets and they got all these other cool people who are marketing mavens to like create the new LTOs and limited time offers. Like, you know, sometimes you can't think when you're working your business. So always reassess and refresh because people want to see something new and unique and something different. Even if you have to move your furniture around. As stupid as that sounds, freshen up the color and the paint, like, change some decor.
Couch is over here now.
You don't have to redo everything. Just give them something that they feel like it's a new place and experience. So I would say that. And my fourth thing I would say is definitely make time for yourself. This is what I'll definitely say is that I don't think I would have been successful if I didn't own my time for myself. To me, my time is more precious to me than money. And the reason I say that is because I need to look at my schedule.
Yep.
And I schedule all of my employees out about a month in advance. I know that sounds ludicrous, but when you have a lot of moving parts in your life like I do, you have to know where your openings are and where your time's for rest.
Yeah.
Because if you are wearing all the hats like I do, you have to be able to research. You have to be able to market. You have to be able to taste test. You have to be able to meet with people. You also have to work in your business.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of parts, but then you have a family and then you might not have a family or you might have like a love of sports. You know, there's things that people do.
Things you want to do.
Make sure your time is important to you, but make sure you put the boundary on that too. So use your time wisely and make it important and self-care. And that's like even getting a massage. Let me tell you, I don't do it as a luxury. I'm getting one tomorrow and it's like totally helps me so I stay healthy.
Have to, yeah.
So there you go. Those are my 4.
I like those 4. That's awesome. I was thinking actually while you're saying these, maybe I should start like a playlist. Every episode we pull the Mount Rushmore pieces from every guest. And then we just say, okay.
It's a great short for a pick-me-up because you know what? Some people forget those little mini things and they get so involved in their lives. You're like, oh, what's going on? And they go,
well, when you're so in the business, you forget to think about those things. You're just, I'm doing this and then I got to do the next task.
But you know what happens? And this is what sucks is that when you keep doing that as a business owner, especially a small business owner, no one's checking you. The world checks you. And then that's when you get sick. That's when you get put away for a month and you can't go to, you can't get out of bed.
Oh, 100%.
So what I'm saying is that you have to start consciously remembering that and put in your calendar. Okay. Did I take my vitamins today? Did I do,
reminders. They help a ton. So where can people find Magic City Hoagies, Magic City Sweets, and all your other endeavors online?
Well, I guess magiccityhoagies.com is my main website for Hoagies. And Magic City Sweets is only a Facebook page right now. I haven't really evolved into a website, which Hoagies didn't have a website for years. Yeah. It wasn't until later when I wanted to refresh the brand and give a little background. But I think Facebook's the best place. I would definitely say that Instagram's there too. And I think that's kind of it.
I mean, downtown, if people want to come.
Oh yeah. I'm downtown. And also I'm part of the Downtown Business Association and things like that. So we do events, but yeah, I would definitely say come downtown. It's like, it's getting better all the time. It's just getting the vibe is so cool now. We have a lot of good businesses, young people, and they're just bringing back the place they want to live at now, you know? Yeah.
They're really revamping downtown, which is awesome. So if you guys haven't tried out either store, go check it out. Christine, thank you very much for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you, Easton, for today.
If you guys like this episode, please leave a rating and review. That was episode 24 of the Minot Business Podcast. We will see you next week for episode 25.